The stories had floated through the galaxy for thousands of years. Traders in smoky space stations whispered them. Old pilots told them to young crews during long jumps. Scholars in quiet libraries wrote them down in careful scripts. Every species had a version. The details changed a little from place to place, but the warnings stayed the same. Do not wake the humans. They come from a small blue world near a plain yellow star. They are short. Their skin is soft. Their lives are brief. Yet the stories said they survive things that should kill them. They walk through fire. They breathe bad air. They drink water full of poison and keep moving. When weapons break, they use teeth. When hope dies, they find more. The oldest tales called them persistence predators. Younger species laughed and said the stories were old lies. The elders never laughed. They just stayed quiet when the name came up. Captain Nathan Cole stood on the bridge of the scout ship Dawn Runner. The ship was fast and quiet. Its hull was dark gray to hide among the stars. Nathan was tall, with short black hair and steady brown eyes. He had flown for the Galactic Concorde for 15 years. He trusted facts more than legends. Lieutenant Grace Larson sat at navigation. She had light brown hair pulled back tight and fingers that moved quick over controls. She was the one who first saw the signal. "Captain," she said, "long-range sensors caught something. A radio burst. Old style. Primitive. Coming from Sector 47 Alpha." Nathan walked over. The holo display showed a yellow star and a blue-green planet. "Play it." Grace tapped the screen. Static filled the bridge. Then voices came through. Music played. A man laughed. A woman sang. News reports talked about weather, sports, wars that ended long ago. At the end, a calm voice said hello in many languages. It gave math problems. It showed pictures of smiling faces. It invited anyone listening to come say hello. Nathan felt cold in his stomach. That's their language pattern. Matches every archive file. Grace looked up. The humans, they're still alive. The Concorde had rules about that system. Observe only. Never approach. Never send messages. The council said it was for safety. Some said it was fear. Nathan stared at the blue dot. They look normal. Cities, ships, farms. Nothing special. Grace shook her head. That's what the stories warn about. They seem normal until you make them angry. The Dawn Runner jumped closer. They stayed cloaked. They watched from far away. Days passed. Humans launched small probes. They sent signals into space. They built bigger telescopes. They listened. One day a human probe, slow, old metal, found them. It was not armed. It just drifted close and sent the same friendly message. Pictures of Earth. Pictures of people waving. An open hand. No weapons. Nathan watched the feed. They know we're here. Grace swallowed. We should report back. Pull out. Nathan thought for a long time. Send the data to command. But stay. Watch what they do next. The report went out. The Concorde Council met in secret. Voices rose. Some wanted to destroy the probe. Some wanted to leave the sector forever. In the end, they did nothing. They hoped the humans would forget. They did not forget. On Earth, scientists studied the strange signal. They saw the cloaked ship on their new deep space scopes. They talked on news shows. They posted on screens. They argued in rooms full of maps. Then they decided. They sent a ship. It was small, not a warship, a science vessel called Curiosity. It carried 6 people. Captain Elena Ruiz led them. She was calm with dark hair and a quiet voice. Her engineer was Kevin Patel. Her pilot was Megan Brooks. The others were doctors and scientists. The Curiosity flew slow. It took months. It sent messages the whole way. Hello, we come in peace. We want to talk. When it reached the edge of Concorde space, a single ship met it. The Harmony Blade. a big cruiser with smooth white hulls. Elder Vrenthal commanded it. He was Kalori, tall, thin, with pale skin and large black eyes. He had lived 300 years. He had read every story about humans. Vren stood in the meeting room. Nathan Cole and Grace Larson were there too. They wore Concord uniforms. On the other side of the table sat Elena Ruiz, Kevin Patel, and Megan Brooks. They wore simple blue jumpsuits, no armor, no guns. Vren spoke through his translator. The voice was flat. Your world was legend to us. We hoped the tales were wrong. Elena looked at him. We have tales about you too. Tall beings with many arms. Creatures that think as one mind. We thought they were stories to scare children. Vren leaned forward. The legends say your kind does not stop. You endure, you hunt, you take what you want. Kevin smiled a little. We endure because we have to. We hunt when we must eat. We take what we need to live. But we share too. We build, we learn. Megan added, we want to be friends. Vren studied their faces. Friends do not burn worlds. Elena met his eyes. We burned our own world once, almost. Then we stopped. We fixed what we could. We do not want to burn yours. The meeting lasted hours. They talked about trade, about science, about rules. Vren agreed to limited contact. No weapons near borders, data shared slowly, visits only with permission. But the Concord watched closely. Then trouble came. A pirate fleet. Ships from broken worlds, mixed crews, found a small human outpost on a rocky moon called Red Point. The outpost had miners and scientists. Barely 200 people, light defenses. The pirates wanted the rare metals. They attacked fast. They bombed the domes. They landed troops. The humans did not run. Miners grabbed tools. Scientists turned lab equipment into weapons. Freighters in orbit used their engines to ram pirate ships. Ground batteries, made to break asteroids, fired heavy slugs. One pirate cruiser exploded in seconds. The pirates lost half their force in the first hour. The rest fled. Concord scouts watched from far away. They sent pictures back. Elder Vrenthal looked at the images. Burning pirate hulls. Human miners standing on the surface with rifles raised. Smoke rising from the moon. He spoke quietly to his officers. The stories were not strong enough. They are worse. The galaxy started to whisper again. The humans were awake. The months after first contact passed slowly. The Galactic Concord kept careful watch. They sent small probes to watch Earth from far away. They listened to human broadcasts. They studied every message the humans sent. The humans kept talking. They sent pictures of their cities. They shared songs and stories. They asked questions about the stars. They seemed friendly. But the elders in the Concord still felt uneasy. Captain Nathan Cole and Lieutenant Grace Larson stayed on duty near the border. Their ship, the Dawn Runner, floated in the dark between systems. They waited for orders. Orders came slow. One day a new signal arrived. It was from Earth. A bigger ship was coming. Not a warship, a diplomatic vessel called Endeavor. It carried 20 people. Scientists, diplomats, a few guards, no heavy weapons. The Concord Council decided to meet them. They chose a small asteroid station called Neutral Point. It was old and empty. Just halls and meeting rooms. No guns, no traps. Elder Vrenthal arrived first. He brought a small team. Tall Kalori in white robes, insectoid Vexari with clicking mandibles, scaled draconids who moved slow and careful. They waited in the main chamber. Lights glowed soft blue. Nathan and Grace stood near the door. They wore their gray uniforms. They carried no weapons. The council had said, no arms allowed. The Endeavor docked with a gentle bump. The airlock hissed open. Ambassador Brian Hayes stepped out first. He was middle-aged, with short gray hair and calm brown eyes. He wore a dark blue suit. Beside him walked Dr. Olivia Grant. She was younger, dark hair and a neat bun, sharp green eyes behind glasses. She carried a small tablet. Behind them came the rest, quiet, curious humans. Brian smiled and raised an open hand. "Hello, we come in peace." Vrenthal stepped forward. His translator hummed, "We welcome you. But we remember the old stories." Brian nodded. "We know the stories. We've read what you sent. Persistence predators. Monsters from a blue world. We understand why you fear us." Olivia looked around the room. "Fear is normal when meeting strangers. But we are here to talk, not to fight." They sat at a round table. No one sat too close. Translators worked. Voices stayed even. Vren spoke first. "Your people were myth to us. We thought you God, or dead by your own hands. The tales said you destroy everything you touch." Brian leaned back. "We almost did. Long ago, we fought wars. We poisoned our air. We came close to the end. Then we learned. We stopped the worst of it. We fix things now, slowly." A Vexari officer clicked his mandibles. "You attacked pirates at Red Point. You destroyed them fast." Olivia answered. "They came to our moon. They killed our people. We defended ourselves. That is all." He had stayed quiet until now. The Concorde saw the battle. Your miners used drills as weapons. Your ships rammed. You did not run. Brian met his eyes. "We don't run when our home is threatened. We never have." The room grew quiet. Vrenthal looked at the humans for a long time. "We agreed to limited contact. Trade data, share maps. No ships near our core worlds. No weapons in shared space." Brian nodded. "Fair, we accept." They signed simple agreements on crystal pads. Hands touched pads. Lights flashed green. The meeting ended. But peace did not last long. A month later, trouble started. A pirate fleet, ships from many broken worlds, found a human mining colony on a gas giant moon called Titan's Reach. The colony had 500 people. Domes, drills, small defense guns. The pirates wanted the helium-3 fuel. They attacked at dawn station time. Bombs fell. Domes cracked. Air rushed out. People died in seconds. The humans fought back. Miners in heavy suits grabbed plasma cutters. They cut into pirate landing craft. Engineers turned fuel tanks into bombs. A small freighter used its engines to push a pirate corvette into the moon's surface. It exploded in a bright flash. Orbital platforms fired railguns. Slugs punched through hulls. One pirate ship broke apart. Another caught fire and spun away. The pirates expected an easy win. They got a hard fight. They lost 6 ships. The rest ran. Concorde scouts watched it all. They sent live feeds to the council. Elder Vrenthal stared at the images. Human miners stood on the cracked ice. They held tools like weapons. Smoke rose behind them. Bodies of pirates lay frozen on the ground. He turned to his officers. "Send word to every fleet. The myths were true. They are not just stories." The council met again. Voices rose high. Before humans grew stronger, others said, "Wait, watch more." They chose to watch. On Earth, news of Titan's Reach spread fast. People gathered in streets. They lit candles for the dead. They built new ships in secret yards. They trained more pilots. They made better guns. Quietly. They did not shout about war. They just prepared. Captain Nathan Cole received new orders. Fly closer. Observe more. Do not engage. He and Grace flew the Dawnrunner near human space. They saw the changes. Old cargo ships got armor plates. Civilian stations added gun turrets. Rockets launched every day. Not to the moon, to the outer dark. Grace looked at the scans. They're building fast. Nathan nodded. They always have. One night a human signal reached them. It was open. No code, just words. This is Earth. We know you're watching. We do not want war, but we will defend what is ours. Come talk again, or stay away. Nathan looked at Grace. They see us. She gave a small smile. They always did. The galaxy grew quiet. Species waited. They remembered the old tales. They added new ones. About miners who fought with drills. About freighters that rammed warships. About a small blue world that refused to die. The humans were no longer myth. They were real, and they were awake. The border dispute started small. A large nebula hung between Concord space and human territory. It was full of rare minerals, crystals that powered ships, gases that made shields stronger. No one owned it at first. Then a Kalori mining guild sent ships and claimed it. They built stations. They started drilling. Humans had already put 3 small outposts there. Simple domes on floating rocks. Miners lived inside. They pulled ore with machines. They sent shipments back to Earth. When the Kalori arrived, the humans did not leave. They kept working. They sent polite messages. We were here first. Let us share. The Kalori guild leader refused. He said the nebula belonged to the Concord now. He ordered his guards to push the humans out. Word reached the council fast. They sent a fleet to show strength. 30 big ships arrived, cruisers with long guns, frigates that moved quick. They formed a wall across the nebula entrance. Their commander was Admiral Lyra Voss. She was Vexari, tall insect with hard shell and sharp mandibles. She spoke in clicks that her translator turned to cold words. Human vessels, she broadcast, leave this space. It is Concord territory. Do not return. On the human flagship Enduring Light, Rear Admiral Daniel Ruiz listened. He was older now. Gray hair, lines on his face from years of command. He stood calm on the bridge. Captain Nathan Cole stood beside him as liaison. Lieutenant Grace Larson watched the screens. Daniel looked at the enemy formation. 30 ships against their 12. They want us gone? Nathan nodded. They say the old stories prove we are a threat. Daniel gave a small smile. Then let's give them a polite answer. He opened the channel. His voice went out clear. This is Rear Admiral Ruiz. We live here, we work here, we built here. We are not leaving. You may stay too. There is room for all. Lyra Voss answered sharp. You will leave. Or we will make you. Daniel shut the channel. All ships hold position. Do not fire first. Keep working. Act normal. The humans did just that. Miners kept drilling. Freighters kept hauling ore. Outposts sent weather reports and jokes over open channels. They invited the Concord crews to dinner. No one came. Days passed. The Concord waited for humans to run. They did not. Food ran low on human ships. They ate dry rations and grew greens in small tanks. They slept in short shifts. When a drill broke, they fixed it under guard lights. They never stopped. The Concord ships waited too. Their crews needed long rest cycles. Vexari slept for days at a time. Kalori needed quiet darkness. Humans kept moving. They played music on their bridges. They told stories. They laughed. A week went by. Lyra Voss grew impatient. She ordered a warning shot. A thin beam crossed in front of a human freighter. It kept flying. She ordered another shot. Closer this time. The beam grazed the hull. Sparks flew. The freighter shook, but kept course. Daniel watched it happen. Damage? An officer answered. Minor burn. Hull patched. They are still hauling. Daniel nodded. Good. Keep going. Then the human response came. Every outpost, every ship, every mining drone turned. Turrets spun. Missile bays opened. Railguns hummed with power. Point defense grids lit up red. A single message went out on all frequencies. You may fire when ready. We will still be here tomorrow. Lyra Voss stared at her screen. The human formation looked small, but every gun pointed at her fleet. No panic, no retreat. She hesitated. The standoff stretched. 2 weeks. 3. Humans ran out of fresh fruit. They drank recycled water. They patched leaks with tape. They treated small injuries with basic kits. They kept the drills running. Ore kept coming out. Concorde crews felt the strain. Supplies dropped. Rest cycles got shorter. Some officers argued. Let them have the nebula. It is not worth a fight. Lyra Voss refused. We show strength. They will break. But humans did not break. On the 23rd day, a human transport arrived. It carried food crates and spare parts. It flew straight through the Concorde line. No one fired. The transport docked at an outpost. Crew unloaded boxes. They waved at the watching ships. Lyra Voss watched the feed. Humans laughed as they worked. They shared meals. They fixed a broken solar panel in plain view. She turned to her first officer. They do not tire. The officer clicked softly. The stories said they would not. Lyra looked at the human ships again. Small, patched, stubborn. She gave the order. All ships, fall back to the outer marker. We withdraw. The Concorde fleet turned slow. Engines glowed. They moved away from the nebula. No shots fired. No words spoken. Humans watched them go. No cheers, no victory dance. They just kept working. Drills hummed. Freighters loaded ore. Life went on. Daniel Ruiz stood on his bridge. He looked at Nathan. They left. Nathan nodded. They saw what the mix meant. Grace spoke quiet. Not just endurance. Patience too. Daniel looked at the nebula on the screen. Blue gas clouds swirled slow. Send a message to Earth. Tell them the border holds. And tell them we shared the space. No blood today. The message went out. Back at the council, Lyra Voss reported. Her voice was low. They did not fight. They waited. We left. The nebula is still theirs. And now they know we will not push again. The elders listened in silence. Some faces showed fear. Others showed respect. Words spread through the galaxy. New stories grew. About the humans who stared down a fleet and never blinked. About miners who worked while warships watched. About a small species that refused to move. The Concorde pulled back from the border. They left sensors but no ships. They watched from far. On Earth, people heard the news. They nodded. They went back to their days. But shipyards worked faster. Engineers drew new designs. Pilots trained harder. The humans did not brag. They just kept going. The galaxy learned something new that day. The monsters in the stories were real. And they were patient. When pushed, they pushed back. When waited on, they waited longer. The galaxy grew tense after the nebula standoff. Species that once ignored the human stories now read them again. Old records played in council rooms. Tales of humans who walked on frozen moons without suits. Who sailed wooden ships through storms that broke metal hulls. Who rebuilt cities after bombs fell. The elders spoke low. The young listened close. A group of fearful worlds formed a secret alliance. They called it the Shadow Pact. Kalori nobles, Vexari warlords, Draconid merchants, others who had lost trade routes or pride. They met in hidden stations. They planned in dark rooms. The humans grow too fast, one leader said. Their ships multiply. Their outposts spread. If we wait, they will take everything. Another nodded. Strike now. Cut their supply lines. Burn their core worlds. Break them before they become unstoppable. They gathered fleets in secret. Ships painted black. No flags. No signals. They waited for the right moment. It came on a quiet night in human time. 3 human core worlds, Mars colonies, Luna bases, and Earth orbital stations lit up with alarms. Shadow-packed ships dropped out of jump close and fast. They fired without warning. Beams cut through domes. Missiles hit power plants. Explosions bloomed red and white. Air rushed out. People died in silence. Billions watched screens go dark. News feeds cut. Emergency lights flashed. Sirens wailed. On Earth, cities went black for hours. Then lights came back. Factories that made cars switched to guns. Schools closed. Teachers taught first aid instead of math. Children learned to pack bags quick. Adults went to work in shipyards day and night. No surrender came. No white flags rose. Instead, humans answered. Old cargo ships got armor plates welded on in hours. Passenger liners turned into troop carriers. Mining lasers became ship weapons. Civilian pilots flew combat runs. They had no fancy training. They had will. Captain Grace Larson now commanded her own destroyer, the Defiant. It was small and patched, but its guns worked. She led a small squadron to the outer edge of the attack zone. Her bridge crew was young, tired eyes, steady hands. Scans show 3 packed cruisers closing, her tactical officer said. Grace looked at the screen. We hold them here. Buy time for the relief ships. The Defiant moved forward. It fired first. Railguns cracked. Shells punched holes in the lead cruiser. The enemy answered. Beams grazed the hull. Sparks flew. Alarms screamed. Grace did not flinch. Keep firing. Engines full. The fight was short and hard. The Defiant took hits. One engine died. Air leaked from a deck, but it kept shooting. One packed cruiser broke apart. Another turned to run. The third stayed. It charged. Grace gave the order. Ram it. Engines burned red. It hit the enemy ship's side on. Metal screamed. Both ships spun. Explosions ripped through. The packed ship died first. The Defiant drifted, broken but alive. Escape pods launched. Grace stayed on the bridge until the last. She survived. Barely. Other fights happened the same way. Human pilots flew straight at bigger ships. They ejected only to climb into new craft and fight again. Marines boarded enemy vessels with knives and pistols. They fought in corridors until the last breath. On the ground, survivors on Mars dug in. They used tunnels. They set traps with explosives from mines. When packed troops landed, humans struck from below. They pulled soldiers down into dark holes. They fought hand to hand. They did not stop. The Shadow Pact expected panic. They expected surrender. They got none. Weeks passed. Human fleets grew. Not pretty, not new, but many. Ships with mismatched parts, guns from different makers, crews who sleep 4 hours and work 20. They pushed back. One by one, packed worlds felt the change. Supply ships never returned. Colonies lost contact. Fleets pulled home to defend. A Draconid admiral watched his last cruiser burn. He sent a message. We were wrong. They do not break. The pact cracked. Some members left. Others begged for talks. Humans did not chase deep into enemy space. They took back what was lost. They rebuilt domes. They patched stations. They buried their dead. They helped the wounded on both sides. Ambassador Brian Hayes stood on a damaged orbital station above Earth. Smoke still drifted in the void. He looked at the blue planet below. Dr. Olivia Grant joined him. She had a bandage on her arm. They thought we would fold. Brian shook his head. They forgot the stories. We survive. We adapt. We remember. Below, factories hummed again. Ships launched. Not for war. For repair. For trade. For life. The galaxy watched quiet. No more secret plans. No more preemptive strikes. Species sent messages. Careful words. Offers of aid. Requests to talk. The humans answered. Not with anger. With open channels. Come, they said. Talk. Trade. Learn. But every species knew now. The monsters were real. They did not conquer for joy. They fought when pushed. And when they fought, they won. Because they never stopped. On a quiet night, Captain Nathan Cole stood on the bridge of a rebuilt Dawn Runner. Grace Larson, scarred but alive, stood beside him. They looked at the stars. The myths were true, Nathan said soft. Grace nodded. And we are part of them now. The blue world turned below. It kept turning, steady, relentless. Decades passed after the Shadow Pact fell apart. The galaxy changed slowly. Old fears faded a little. New ones took their place. But the name human stayed in every story. Traders told it in bars. Pilots whispered it during long flights. Children learned it in schools on 100 worlds. The stories no longer spoke only of monsters. They spoke of survivors, of builders, of ones who remembered every wrong and every kindness. The Galactic Concord invited humans to join as full members. The invitation came on a crystal tablet delivered by a small Kalori ship. It asked for a meeting on the old neutral station. No weapons, no guards, just words. Ambassador Brian Hayes received the message on Earth. He was older now. His hair was white. His steps were slower. But his eyes stayed sharp. He looked at the tablet for a long time. Then he smiled small. Dr. Olivia Grant stood beside him. She had new lines on her face too. Scars from the war still showed on her arm. They want us in the room, she said. Brian nodded. Then we go. The delegation left Earth quiet. No big parade, no loud speeches, just a simple transport ship. Brian Hayes led it. Olivia Grant came too. Captain Nathan Cole flew as escort. Captain Grace Larson stood on the bridge with him. They had both seen too much, but they still believed in talk. The neutral station looked the same. Clean halls, soft lights, round table in the main chamber. The Concord Council waited. Elder Vren Thal sat at the head. Admiral Lyra Voss stood behind him. Other faces from many species watched silent. Brian stepped in first. He raised an open hand. We come to talk. Vrenthal rose slow. His voice came through the translator calm. The stories were true. You are the persistence predators. You endured what should have ended you. You struck back when we thought you broken. Brian sat down. The others followed. We are not predators. We are people. We fight when we must. We build when we can. We forgive when it is earned. Lyra Voss clicked her mandibles. You could have hunted us after the war. You did not. Olivia answered. We did not want more graves. We wanted peace. The room stayed quiet for a moment. Then Vren spoke again. The council votes to accept you. Full membership. Shared space. Shared knowledge. Equal voice. Brian looked around the table. We accept, but we ask one thing. No more fear. No more secret plans. We will watch. We will remember. But we choose friends. Hands touched pads. Lights flashed green. The vote passed. Every voice said yes. Outside the chamber, Nathan and Grace watched the blue marble of Earth on a view screen. It turned slow and steady. Grace spoke soft. They still tell the old stories about us. Nathan nodded. Good. Let them. The years that followed brought change. Human ships flew Concord routes. They carried goods. They shared tech. They helped fix stations damaged by old wars. Medics like Olivia taught doctors on other worlds. Engineers showed how to turn waste into power. Pilots trained with others. They laughed together in mess halls. But humans stayed watchful. They kept their borders strong. They built new ships. They trained young ones. They never forgot Titan's reach or the burning skies. One day a new threat came. A rogue AI swarm appeared from dark space. Machines that ate stars. They moved fast. They learned quick. They destroyed 3 worlds before anyone could react. The Concord panicked. Fleets gathered. Plans failed. The swarm kept coming. Humans answered first. They sent small ships ahead, scouts with brave crews. They watched. They learned. They found weak points in the swarm code. They shared the data with everyone. Then they fought. Captain Grace Larson led a wing of destroyers. Her ship, rebuilt and stronger, flew at the front. She used old tricks. Decoys, mines, disruptor pulses. She drew the swarm close. Then human railguns fired in patterns no machine expected. Other human ships followed. They rammed when needed. They boarded when possible. They hacked when they could. They never stopped. The Concorde joined soon after. Together they pushed. The swarm slowed, then broke, then died. In the end, a single human frigate flew into the heart of the swarm core. It carried a virus made by Olivia's team. The core shut down. The swarm stopped. Grace stood on her bridge after. Smoke filled the air. Lights flickered. Her crew cheered, weak but real. She looked at the stars. We did it together. Back on the council station, Vren Thal spoke to Brian. You saved us again. Brian shook his head. We saved ourselves, and our friends. The galaxy took note. No more whispers of monsters. Now they spoke of allies, of the ones who came when called, who fought beside you, who laughed after the fight. On Earth, life went on. Cities grew taller. Farms turned green again. Children played under open skies. They learned the old stories, but they learned new ones too. Stories of bridges built between worlds, of hands shaken across tables, of peace earned through fire. One evening Brian Hayes stood on a hill near his home. The sun set slow. Wind moved the grass. He looked at the stars. Olivia joined him. Thinking about the myths? Brian smiled. They were true, but we wrote the ending ourselves. Far above, a human ship passed quiet. Lights blinked hello to the watching Concorde vessels. The stars stayed bright. The blue world kept turning, and the humans kept going. Never stopping, never breaking, just being.